Hi everyone. Number one, I want to thank everybody that came to the Moonshine Hangout on Monday evening. It was a lot of fun, and I think it was 2 hours well spent. A special thanks to those Debbie Lynn and Slim and anybody else that was on, Debbie, RB, Debs, and some other people. That came on, Drew Foy, came on and took time to hang out with me and discuss some of the finer points of making moonshine, at least the way we do it. As a result of the hangout, of course, I have a lot of questions that came in terms of the process, and I thought I'd have a little moonshine Q&A follow-up today, if you will allow me. And the main question that many people wanted to ask is, overall, is it really hard to do? And it's really a two-part answer. The first part is what I think that people underestimate and what they get wrong is the ferment. You know, if you don't have a good ferment, if you didn't take all of your sugars and your grain starches and fully convert them to potential alcohol through the yeast eating sugar and starches process, then you're not going to have a good outcome when it comes out of distill. Plain and simple, that's going to be the reality of it. So as a result, I tell people generally that 80% of the success of your making distilled beverages is going to come as a result of what you do in the fermenting process. Forget the distilling. Everybody loves, as you can see behind here, everybody loves the glory of having the fancy still and all that stuff. But the reality is that what goes on in the ferment pot is a lot more important to the process than what goes on in the still. And let there be no doubt about that. Okay, concentrate your efforts on the fermenting, and the still stuff is easy. I tell people, unless you're my friend Drew Foy is very mechanically inclined and has been a refrigeration technician for years, and he's used to working with copper and coils and all that kind of stuff. He's the kind of person that understands some of the nuances of moonshining, and as a result, I have confidence that he'll be making, if he chooses to, and of course it's just an academic pursuit for him, but if he chooses to do it, he'll likely have a very good outcome. The other thing is, somebody asked me, is there a site that I can be referred to learn more about making distilled beverages at home? And a site that helped me through the years ago, although most of my moonshining stuff came from family knowledge that was passed down from generation to generation. There is a website called homedistilling.org, and I'll find the link and I'll post it in the description box here. And that's going to tell you a lot of things, from different recipes to equipment to how to build still builds and ferments and different flavors and techniques. It's an awesome site. It has a Q&A board, so it's wonderful. I think it's homedistillers.org. So that's a site that you definitely want to check out. The third thing is, would you build your own still? And for me, the answer was no. I mean, the first time I tried running a batch of moonshine, I used a water distiller, and I got something that's like alcohol out of it, but I wasn't going to drink it. I saved it in a little jar for posterity's sake. But stills, functional stills of stainless steel and copper are so inexpensive these days for small ones that you can find something decent for $100, $200. It'll make your moonshining endeavors so much more happy if you use something that's already made on the distilling side. That way you'll be able to appreciate your product instead of having it get screwed up by the still because, well, it puked in the column or any other things that could go wrong with running a still. So put the emphasis on making a good ferment. and you'll be a lot happier. How much does a rig cost? And of course, the rig that we have over here, and you can kind of see that behind me here. This rig was about $5,000. This rig, and there's quite a few places that sell that kind of rig. It's called really a column still or a fractioning still. They also sell pot stills, which is one individual pot with like a one arm at the side called a line arm that the vapor comes out and condenses by the end of it. This is the way they do it for Scotch whiskeys, particularly in Europe. They use those big pot stills. These come out of Germany, like the Christian Carl and those kind of big time stills that can hold 125 to 500 gallons of ferment at a time. Big time things. The next question that somebody asked, and I'll back up here to talk about this one, is if you look at the still here, then what's the glass for in here? Why do we have these glasses? And why do we have 6 of those glasses? Well, the reality is they're really observation kind of points that you can look in those windows and you can sort of see what's going on with the distilling process. We all know, or most of us do, that are interested in moonshining, that alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water because it's a lighter material. It has a much lower specific gravity than water. So as a result, it has a lower boiling point. Well, you want to be able to watch as this kettle gets up to 175, 177 degrees. You start to see the windows steam up, and then around 180 degrees or so, you start to see bubbling in the windows, and it starts at the bottom one, and it rises up window by window as the amount of alcohol is rising and being potentially vaporized as it moves higher in the column there. And the reality is that those windows just give a clue to how far along your initial distillation is going, and also at the end you'll see the windows, as the amount of alcohol goes down, you'll see the windows start to decline. In other words, the top one will stop bubbling, the second from the top, and then you'll be down to maybe one window at the bottom, and you know that you're coming to the end of the run. Now the other issue up here, and let me go back to the still here. The other issue is, why do we have an extra plate up here? And the reason we have an extra plate is the higher the still, the more purity you get. In other words, if we put this condensing apparatus at this level instead of up on this level up here, we will get a much higher proofage product out of the still. This might produce about 180 proof. This, with the extra plates, will take that up to about maybe 194, something around there, which is a significant difference in proofage. So that's why we have the that's what the windows do, and that's why we have the extra plate. You will see people that make vodka have incredibly high columns. The more pure the product, and of course vodka is supposed to be devoid of all taste and stuff. It's over 90% pure ethanol by definition. And some people talk about getting that purity up to 96%, 97%, and just a little bit of room for flavorings if they want to add it after the fact. But to get that purity, you need a really high column. This is why when you see oil refineries and things like that, you will often see that that they're very high. The columns are very high because at the top comes off the airplane, the jet fuels and things like that have to be the most refined product, and out at the bottom of the distillation process, you might get the bunker fuels and the heavy fuels and things like that ships can run on. So Anyway, some most excellent questions in the follow-up to the Moonshine Q&A. I will be putting up additional probably one more section in the next week or so, because I've gotten a lot of questions as people are seeing that Hangout now. So once again, thanks for participating on the live chat, those that did, and thank you also those who participated on the side chat. Okay, that's it. That's the whole deal there with the still and with your questions. So thanks so much for watching today.